The greatest revenge is to accomplish what others say you cannot. Hey, my friends, let's talk about something real. They thought leaving you would be easy. They thought they could replace you like swapping out an old shirt for a new one. But life doesn't work that way. See, people don't regret walking away when you beg them to stay. They regret it when they realize they walked away from the best thing they ever had. And by the time they figure that out, you'll be so far ahead, they won't even be able to reach you. Before we get into this, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe. Not for me, but for yourself. Because today, we're not just talking about moving on. We're talking about turning your pain into power. Stay with me. So, let's start with a truth. Say it with me. You will regret leaving me. Once more, louder this time. You will regret leaving me. Because as the saying goes, what you think, you become. And that's exactly what we're doing right now, shifting our mindset, claiming our power, and setting the stage for what's to come. Now, prove to me you're here from the very start. Go to the comments and type it out. You will regret leaving me. Let's make it real. Let's make it known. Don't shy away. This isn't for them, it's for you. Every step you take in reclaiming your power starts with a choice. This is yours. Go ahead, type it. You will regret leaving me. Let the world see it. Let yourself see it. Now, imagine this. You're a rare, one-of-a-kind painting. At first, they admire you. They appreciate your beauty. But over time, they take you for granted. They think, I can always find something better. So they leave you behind, searching for something shinier, something newer. But here's the truth. The world is full of cheap prints, not masterpieces. And one day, they realize it. They see that nothing else has the same depth, the same value, the same soul. But by then, you're hanging in a gallery where they can't afford the price of admission. That's what we're doing here today, turning you into something priceless. Not to get them back, not to make them jealous, but to become the kind of person they can't forget, even if they tried. Have you ever noticed how people only appreciate the sun once it sets? They only feel the weight of your absence when the warmth is gone. That's the game they played. They thought you'd always be there, shining just for them. But now you step back, and suddenly their world feels colder. The great Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself? This is the moment, not next week, not someday, right now. You don't get revenge by sulking. You don't make them regret leaving by chasing them. You do it by becoming so self-sufficient, so unshaken, that they look back and realize they lost something irreplaceable. Most people think heartbreak is an ending, but what if it's a beginning? What if the pain they left you with wasn't a curse, but a forge? A fire that burns away the weak parts of you, leaving behind something stronger, sharper, unbreakable. While they're out there chasing temporary highs, you're leveling up, mind, body, and soul. And one day, they'll look at you, thriving, untouchable, living your best life without them, and that's when it will hit them. They messed up. Not in a small way, not in a maybe I should text them way, but in a deep, gut-wrenching, I threw away the best thing I ever had kind of way. But here's the twist. By then, you won't even care, because this isn't about them anymore. It's about you. It's about stepping into your power. Today, we're diving into 10 Stoic principles that will reshape your mindset, rebuild your confidence, and make you unforgettable. But first, comment these 4 words below. I will rise above. And while you're at it, hit that like button and subscribe. Not because I told you to, but because taking action, even in small ways, is how you reclaim your power. take a deep breath. And now, let's get into it. Number 1. Stop chasing shadows. Let them miss the sun. The moment you feel like you have to prove your worth to someone is the moment to walk away. My friends, let's talk about one of the biggest lies we've been sold, that if we just try hard enough, if we show them how much we care, they'll come back. That if we chase after them, they'll suddenly realize our worth. But here's the cold truth. Chasing someone who left is like trying to hold on to smoke. It slips right through your fingers, leaving you with nothing but emptiness. Picture this. A rare diamond sits untouched on display. It doesn't beg to be noticed. It doesn't scream for attention. It simply exists, radiating value. Meanwhile, cheap trinkets pile up in bargain bins, desperate for someone to pick them up. Now, ask yourself, which one are you acting like? A priceless gem that people regret passing up? Or a desperate discount waiting for someone, anyone, to take you home? When you chase someone, you tell them they made the right choice by leaving. You tell them that your worth is negotiable, that you'll shrink, bend, and beg just for a second chance. But let me ask you, if they truly valued you, would they have walked away in the first place? If they genuinely saw your worth, would you even need to remind them? I know what you're thinking, but what if I don't chase and they forget me? What if they never come back? That's the fear talking. That's the part of you still clinging to the illusion that love is something you have to fight for. But real love, real value, it doesn't need convincing. It doesn't need pleading. And most importantly, it doesn't need you to sacrifice your dignity just to keep someone in your life. Let me tell you something powerful. People only appreciate what they lose. The more available you are, the less valuable you seem. The more you chase, the faster they run. And the moment you stop, that's when they start wondering. Think about it. When was the last time you truly appreciated air? You breathe it in every second without a thought. But the moment it's taken away, you panic. You need it. That's how absence works. That's how regret grows. We've been conditioned to believe that if someone leaves, it means we weren't good enough, that we have to prove our worth, remind them of what they lost, fight to stay in their mind. But here's the truth. They didn't leave because you weren't enough. They left because they thought they could do better. And the only way they'll realize their mistake is when they see you become better without them. Not by chasing, not by begging, but by stepping into your power so completely that their absence no longer matters. Do you know what makes people regret losing someone? It's not the tears. It's not the late-night texts. It's not the desperate attempts to stay in their life. It's seeing you move forward like they never existed. It's watching you thrive while they expected you to crumble. It's the gut-wrenching realization that while they were out searching for something better, you became something they can never have again. Walking away from someone you love is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. Every part of you will want to reach out. Every instinct will tell you to do something to bring them back. But here's what you need to understand. Doing nothing is doing something. Letting them feel your absence is a power move. It shifts the dynamic. It forces them to sit in the silence they created. And trust me, silence is loud. Right now, it feels like they have all the power. But the second you stop chasing, that power shifts back to you. You're no longer a desperate option. They become the one who lost something valuable. And when that realization hits them, when they finally understand that you were the sun in their life and they walked away into the cold, that's when regret creeps in. That's when they start questioning everything. But by then, you won't care. Now, show me you're ready to take back your power. Type these 4 words in the comments. I refuse to chase. Let the world see it. Let yourself see it. You are not an option. You're not a second choice. And you are done running after someone who couldn't see your worth. And stay with me, because what's coming next? It's going to change everything. Number 2. Flip the script. Make them the ones watching you. When someone walks away, it feels like the ground beneath you has cracked open. Everything you built with them, your plans, your routines, your future, suddenly disappears. It's disorienting, like losing a compass in the middle of an ocean. One moment, you knew exactly where you were headed, and the next, you're stranded, unsure of which way to go. But here's what no one tells you. This isn't the end. It's the moment your real life begins. Most people think a breakup is a loss. They cling to the past, replaying memories, analyzing what went wrong, trying to piece back together something that's already broken. But the truth? This isn't a loss. It's an opportunity, a reset, a clean slate to build something even greater. Pain has a way of exposing what really matters. And when they leave, you're left with a choice. Do you keep holding on to a life that no longer exists? Or do you step forward and create something so powerful, so fulfilling, that you won't even recognize the person you used to be? Ask yourself, what have you been neglecting? Did you put your dreams on the back burner just to keep them happy? Did you rearrange your life to fit theirs, only to be left wondering where your own life went? So many people make the mistake of keeping the same priorities after a breakup, still centering their world around someone who has already walked away. They wait, they hope, they linger in the shadows of the past. But imagine flipping the script. Instead of spending your days wondering if they miss you, you start focusing on your own transformation. Instead of waiting for a text that may never come, you take back your power, redirect your energy, and start building a life so incredible that regret isn't something you chase. It's something you cause without even trying. Picture this. You're walking down the street, feeling stronger, more confident, more alive than ever. You're no longer checking your phone, no longer haunted by the past. You're laughing, thriving, glowing. And then, there they are. The person who thought they could walk away and never look back. But the second they see you, something shifts. A flicker of recognition, a pang of something they don't want to admit. That's the moment they realize they lost something they'll never get back. And the best part? By then, you won't care. Now, prove to yourself that you're ready to turn the tables. Type these 4 words in the comments. My life comes first. Let the world see it. Let yourself see it. You're not waiting. You're not chasing. You're becoming. And stay with me, because what's coming next? It's going to change everything. Number 3. Ignite your spark. Make them watch from the sidelines. There's something magnetic about a person who is fully alive, who moves with purpose, who wakes up with something that fuels them beyond any relationship. It's that fire, that passion, that undeniable energy that makes you unforgettable. People don't regret leaving someone who sits in the dark, waiting, hoping, shrinking. They regret leaving someone who rises, someone who takes that pain and turns it into fuel. They might have left thinking they were your world, assuming that without them, you'd be lost. That you'd sit there, staring at your phone, drowning in old memories, waiting for the day they'd reconsider. But what happens when they look back and see something completely different? They see you thriving. They see you moving forward like a storm they can't control. They see you fully immersed in something that lights you up, something bigger than them, something they never expected. That's when regret sets in. Not because you tried to make them feel it, but because you proved, without even trying, that they were just a chapter in your story, not the whole book. Imagine an artist who once painted just to impress one person. Every stroke of the brush, every shade, every color, chosen to please them. Then that person leaves, and suddenly the artist realizes they weren't meant to create for someone else's approval. They were meant to create because they love to create. The paintings get bolder, the colors brighter, the passion raw and undeniable. And one day the person who walked away sees the masterpiece from a distance. They realize that while they left, the artist became something greater. That's what you're doing now. You're not trying to make them jealous. You're not posting pictures hoping they'll notice. You're not faking happiness just to prove a point. You're becoming so consumed by your own fire, so caught up in your own evolution, that their absence doesn't even matter anymore. And that's exactly when they'll start to feel it. Not when you cry, not when you chase, not when you try to make them see your worth, but when they look back and realize they didn't break you. The person they left behind no longer exists. Now, prove to yourself that you're ready to step into your power. Type these 4 words in the comments. I am unstoppable. Let the world see it. Let yourself see it. You're not waiting. You're not looking back. You're becoming. And stay with me, because what's coming next, it's going to shift everything. Number 4. Let silence be the loudest sound they hear. The most powerful statement you can make is no statement at all. When someone walks away, your first instinct is to talk, to explain, to seek closure. You want them to understand what they lost. You want them to know how much they hurt you. But what if I told you the real power isn't in words, it's in silence? We live in a world that never stops talking. Everyone is always explaining, justifying, reacting. But silence? Silence is rare, and anything rare holds power. Think about this. When a TV is constantly playing in the background, you barely notice it. The noise just blends in. But when everything suddenly goes quiet, you pay attention. Your mind searches for what's missing. That's exactly what happens when you stop reaching out, stop explaining, stop trying to make them see your worth. Your silence forces them to notice your absence in a way words never could. They expect you to text. They expect you to check in. They expect late-night messages filled with questions and emotions. They expect signs that you're still tied to them in some way. But when none come, when the line goes completely dead, it forces them to feel something they never expected: loss. And here's the thing about loss. It doesn't hit all at once. It creeps in, slowly, like an empty room getting colder with every passing day. At first, they might enjoy the space, thinking they've moved on, thinking they made the right choice. But then, when they realize that your absence isn't just temporary, that you're truly gone, that's when the regret starts to settle in. Seneca once said, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." Words, when overused, lose their weight. The more you talk, the less they listen. But silence? Silence is impossible to ignore. It lingers. It creates questions in their mind. It forces them to consider, did I mean less to them than I thought? Why haven't they reached out? Have they already moved on? The moment you stop chasing, the moment you let go without explanation, you shift the power. Because now instead of you sitting there wondering what they're thinking, they're the ones wondering about you. And wondering leads to curiosity. Curiosity leads to reflection. Reflection leads to regret. But here's where most people get it wrong. They break the silence too soon. They give in to the fear, the urge to check in, the need to remind that person they still exist. And every time you do that, you take away the mystery. You let them off the hook. You show them you're still affected, still waiting, still caught in the cycle. Imagine a magician revealing their secrets before the trick is even over. The mystery disappears, the illusion is gone, and suddenly, there's nothing left to wonder about. That's exactly what happens when you give them reassurance by reaching out first. But when you hold your silence, when you stand firm, unshaken, that's when they start to feel the weight of their choices. Because now, the only place they can find you is in their memories. And trust me, memories aren't enough. Most people think words bring closure, but the truth is, silence does. Not just for them, but for you. Silence isn't about playing games. It's about setting yourself free. It's about proving to yourself that you don't need validation from someone who walked away, that you don't need to explain your worth. It speaks for itself. And the moment you embrace that, that's the moment you become untouchable. That's the moment they realize they thought they left you behind, but in reality, they lost you forever. Now, if you're ready to reclaim your power, prove it. Go to the comments and type these 4 words. I choose silence now. Let the world see it. Let yourself see it. Because today, you stop chasing. Today, you stop explaining. Today, you let your silence do all the talking. And stay with me, because what's coming next? It's going to change everything. Number 5. Rise so high that their regret becomes unbearable. Nothing stings more than watching someone you left behind rise higher than ever. When they walked away, they thought they were leaving something ordinary. They thought they could replace you. They thought your absence wouldn't matter. But what happens when they look back and realize they were wrong? What happens when they see that instead of breaking, you built? Instead of fading, you flourished? This isn't about revenge. This isn't about proving anything to them. It's about proving everything to yourself. Their absence didn't destroy you. It refined you. It forced you to dig deep, to grow, to evolve into someone stronger than they ever imagined. And now, your success speaks louder than any words ever could. Think of it like a tree. They walked away thinking they had cut you down. They expected you to wither, to shrink, to disappear. But instead, your roots grew deeper, your branches stretched wider, and now you stand taller than ever. Let that image sink in. They thought they were leaving behind a moment. Instead, they left behind a movement. This is the truth they never saw coming. The version of you they walked away from no longer exists. That person is gone. In their place stands someone unstoppable, someone unshaken, someone they no longer deserve to know. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. But what if I don't feel successful yet? What if I'm still struggling? Good. That means you're in the process. That means you're still in the forge. You see, every masterpiece starts as raw material. Every diamond was once just a rock. It's the pressure, the fire, the struggle that transforms it into something priceless. So if you're in the fire right now, embrace it. Let it shape you. Let it carve out the strength you never knew you had. Because one day, they'll look back, and the regret will hit them like a wave. Unstoppable, undeniable, and completely their fault. Success isn't about showing off. It's not about making them jealous. It's about creating a life so full, so powerful, so undeniably yours, that their regret becomes their burden to carry, not yours. Imagine them scrolling through their phone one night, their life feeling empty, something missing, and then there you are, not waiting, not hoping, just thriving, living your best life, smiling like they never existed. That moment, that's the moment it all crashes down on them, the regret, the what-ifs, the realization that they lost something they can never get back. But by then, you won't even flinch, because you'll have already moved on. Not with someone else, not with distractions, but with purpose. With a life that's too big for the small mindsets of those who couldn't see your worth when they had the chance. And that's the greatest feeling in the world. Not that they regret leaving, but that you don't regret them leaving. Now, prove to yourself that you're stepping into this power. Type these 4 words in the comments: I will rise above. Let the world see it. Let yourself see it. Because the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's success. It's peace. It's becoming someone they can only admire from a distance. Because the door back to you, it's locked forever. And stay with me, because what's coming next, it's going to change everything. Number 6, stop settling. Make them realize they never deserved you. Never lower your standards for those who refuse to rise. When someone leaves, the first thought that creeps in is often, was I not enough? The mind plays tricks, whispering that if you had been different, softer, quieter, easier to please, maybe they would have stayed. Maybe they wouldn't have replaced you so quickly. Maybe they wouldn't be out there acting like you never mattered. But let's get one thing straight right now. It was never about you not being enough. It was about them never being worthy of what you brought to the table. Most people, when faced with rejection, make the same mistake. They lower their standards. They shrink themselves, thinking that by being less, they'll become more desirable. That if they just accept less, tolerate more, compromise further, they won't have to feel that gut-wrenching emptiness of someone walking away. But here's the reality. The moment you elevate your standards, the world has to rise to meet you. That's when everything changes. Imagine a store selling luxury watches. Do they beg customers to buy? Do they slap on discounts, trying to convince people of their worth? No, they stand firm, knowing their value. Those who recognize quality come willingly. Those who don't, they walk away, and the store doesn't blink. You must do the same. Stop negotiating your value. Stop making space for people who only give you half of what you deserve. Stop thinking that love means bending until you break. You were never meant to be an option, a second choice, or something someone settles for. If they couldn't see your worth, that's their loss. If they couldn't match your energy, they were never meant to be in your life in the first place. Here's what happens the moment you raise your standards. The ones who took you for granted start to notice. They assumed you'd always be there, always available, always willing to bend, compromise, and wait. But now you are out of reach. And that's when regret creeps in. That's when they realize the version of you they once had access to no longer exists. Think about it. People only value what they can't have. The restaurant with the long wait list always seems better than the one with empty tables. The exclusive event everyone's trying to get into? Suddenly, it's the most desirable place to be. But the second something feels too easy, too available, it loses its value. That's why the ones who walked away will only start to realize what they lost when they see that you're no longer within reach, when they see you thriving without them, when they see you refusing to settle. Raising your standards isn't just about making them regret losing you. It's about making yourself so untouchable that their regret doesn't even matter anymore. I know it's hard. I know it feels easier to just settle, to let them back in, to hold on to any bit of connection rather than feel the sting of loneliness. But tell me, would you rather sit at an empty table waiting for crumbs, or build a feast so abundant that those who once ignored you now wish they had a seat? This is your moment. The moment you decide that you are not waiting to be chosen, you are choosing yourself. Now prove it. Type these 4 words in the comments. I refuse to settle. Let the world see it. Let yourself see it. You are done lowering the bar for people who never deserved you in the first place. And stay with me, because what's coming next, it's going to change everything. Number 7. Disappear like smoke. Let silence haunt them. He who is everywhere is nowhere. Seneca. We live in a world that never stops talking. Notifications, messages, endless noise. Everyone is always reaching, always explaining, always trying to be heard. And when someone leaves, your first instinct is to do the same, to reach out, to find closure, to make them understand what they lost. But what if you did the exact opposite? What if, instead of chasing, you vanished? What if, instead of filling the silence, you let the silence speak for itself? People expect a reaction. They expect messages filled with hurt, anger, or longing. They expect late-night calls, subtle social media posts, indirect attempts to remind them you still exist. But when none of that comes, when the line goes completely dead, it forces them to feel something they never expected: your absence. And absence, it's a powerful thing. See, most people don't miss you because of your presence. They miss you because of the space you used to take up in their life. The good morning texts, the late night conversations, the way you were always there, always available. They took it for granted, assuming you'd always be one message away. But then, suddenly, you're gone. No texts, no calls, no reminders of your existence, just silence. And that silence, it starts to work on them. It lingers in their mind like a song they can't get out of their head. It turns into questions they never expected to ask. Did I mean less to them than I thought? Why haven't they reached out? Did they already move on? See, they were expecting closure from you. They were expecting you to beg, to explain, to react. Because as long as you're reacting, they know they still have a hold on you. They can walk away without really losing anything. But when they're met with nothing but silence, they don't get that comfort. Instead of being distracted by your emotions, they're forced to sit with their own choices, to face the reality that they might have just let go of something they'll never get back. Silence is a mirror. It reflects everything they were too blind to see before. And if you don't believe me, think about this. Have you ever sent a message to someone and they never replied? How did it feel? The longer the silence stretched, the louder it got. That one unanswered text suddenly became heavier than 1,000 spoken words. You started to wonder, to question, to overthink. That's exactly what happens when you go silent on someone who expected to have access to you forever. Silence creates mystery, and mystery creates curiosity. The more they wonder about you, the more you stay on their mind. And the more they stay in that uncertainty, the more regret starts to creep in. People think words are powerful, but words, when overused, lose their weight. The more you explain yourself, the less they listen. The more you try to make them understand, the more they tune you out. But silence? Silence is impossible to ignore. Think of it like a book with an unfinished ending, a movie that cuts to black before revealing what happens next. That frustration, that itch to know, is what makes people obsessed. And the moment they start wondering about you, the power shifts. Because now, you're no longer the one seeking answers. They are. But let me be real with you. This won't be easy. Every part of you will want to break the silence, to send that one last message, to check if they've noticed your absence, to see if they've started regretting their decision. Don't. Because the second you reach out, the second you break the silence, you reset the game. You let them off the hook. You give them the comfort they were waiting for, the proof that they still have an effect on you. Instead, let them sit in the silence they created. Let them feel what life is like without you. And trust me, one day, that silence will be deafening. They'll check their phone, expecting a message from you. Nothing. They'll scroll through their feed, wondering if you posted about them. Silence. They'll replay memories in their head, realizing that the person they once had access to is now untouchable. And that's when regret will hit them, not in a soft passing way, but in a deep, gut-wrenching, "what have I done?" kind of way. But here's the best part. By then, you won't care. Because while they were busy wondering about you, you were busy becoming something greater, someone stronger, someone wiser, someone who no longer needs their validation. Now, show me you're ready to take back your power. Type these 4 words in the comments. Silence is my power. Let the world see it. Let yourself see it. You are not an echo of the past. You are not a beggar for attention. You are done explaining your worth. And stay with me, because what's coming next, it's going to change everything. Number 8. Turn your growth into their greatest regret. Nothing stings more than watching someone you left behind rise higher than ever. When they walked away, they thought they were leaving behind something ordinary. Maybe they assumed you'd stay the same, stuck in the past, waiting, hoping, lost without them. But what happens when they look back and see that you've turned your life into something extraordinary? This isn't about revenge. It's not about proving anything to them. It's about proving something to yourself, that you were always capable of more. Their absence didn't break you, it built you. And now your success speaks louder than any words ever could. Think of it like a tree. They thought they cut you down. Maybe for a moment, it even felt like they did. But instead of withering, your roots grew deeper. Your branches stretched further. Now you stand taller than ever, stronger, unshaken, unbreakable. That's what true power looks like. People regret leaving not because you tell them they should, but because they see it for themselves. It's in the way you carry yourself, the way you thrive, the way you move forward, not just healed, but transformed. Imagine this. They stumble across a picture of you, laughing, glowing, living a life they never thought you could without them. Maybe they hear your name in passing, only to find out you're doing better than ever. And in that moment, a realization creeps in. They didn't just lose you, they lost the chance to be part of the best version of you. Regret isn't something you hand them. It's something that echoes in their mind long after you've moved on. But here's the best part. By the time they realize what they lost, you won't even care. Now, prove to yourself that you're ready to rise. Type these 4 words in the comments. I am unstoppable. Let the world see it. Let yourself see it. You're not waiting. You're not looking back. You're becoming. And stay with me, because what's coming next, it's going to change everything. Number 9. Out of their league, and they know it. When someone leaves, the first thought that creeps in is always the same. Was I not enough? The mind plays tricks, whispering that maybe if you had been different, softer, quieter, easier to love, they would have stayed. Maybe if you had bent just a little more, shrunk yourself just a little further, they would have chosen you. But here's the truth. It was never about you not being enough. It was about them never being worthy of what you brought to the table. Most people, when faced with rejection, do the exact wrong thing. They lower their standards. They think, maybe I was asking for too much. Maybe I should settle. Maybe if I just prove that I'm willing to do whatever it takes, they'll change their mind. But the moment you start thinking like that, you lose. Because the second you start bending, you stop being the person they regret losing. Picture this: a luxury store selling high-end watches. Do they beg customers to buy? Do they slap on discounts, hoping someone, anyone, will take them home? No. They stand firm, knowing that those who understand quality will come willingly. Those who don't? They were never meant to have it in the first place. You must do the same. Stop negotiating your worth. Stop entertaining people who only offer you half of what you deserve. Stop making space for those who think love is a game of convenience. The moment you do this, everything changes. Because here's what happens when you raise your standards. The people who took you for granted start to notice. They assumed you'd always be there, always answering, always willing to bend, always waiting. But now you're out of reach. And nothing stings more than realizing you had access to something incredible and you lost it forever. They'll start to wonder, how did I miss this? How did I let them go? But by the time they realize it, the version of you they once knew will no longer exist. And the best part, you won't even be looking back. Now, show me you're done lowering the bar. Type these 4 words in the comments. I refuse to settle. Let the world see it. Let yourself see it. You are not an option. You are not a second choice. You are the prize. And stay with me, because what's coming next, it's going to change everything. Number 10. Live so fully that their absence becomes a footnote. When someone leaves, it's easy to believe they took a part of your happiness with them, that life will never feel as bright, as full, or as meaningful without them. But let's set the record straight. The happiness you felt wasn't because of them. It was because of you. They were just a chapter in your story, but they were never the author of your joy. And now, you get to prove it. People who walk away expect to leave behind a void. They assume their absence will shake you, that you'll be lost, stuck reminiscing, unable to move forward. They picture you waiting by the phone, scrolling through old photos, mourning what was. But imagine this. One day, they look back, expecting to see you broken. And instead, they see someone who didn't just survive without them, but thrived. You're not sitting around replaying the past. You're too busy living, too busy building, creating, exploring, growing, too busy filling your life with so much meaning that their presence or absence becomes irrelevant. That's when the regret creeps in. They start to wonder, was I ever that important to them? Did I even matter? Because the biggest reality check for someone who leaves is realizing that life didn't stop without them. It got better. Think of your life as a masterpiece. Maybe before they were a color in your painting, maybe even a dominant one. But they were never the whole picture. Now, you hold the brush. You decide what the canvas will become. Maybe it's a new career, a new city, a new adventure. Maybe it's as simple as learning to enjoy the silence that once felt unbearable. Whatever it is, make it yours. When you fill your life with meaning, you send a message, not just to them, but to yourself and the world, that they were never the source of your fulfillment. You were. So now, show me you're ready to live fully. Type these 4 words in the comments. I create my happiness. Let the world see it. Let yourself see it. You're not looking back. You're not waiting. You're becoming. And stay with me. Because what's coming next? It's going to change everything. This is your moment. Not to look back, not to wait, but to rise. You are not an option. You are not replaceable. You are the prize. And the best revenge? Living so fully that their absence becomes irrelevant. So keep moving forward, keep leveling up, and never let anyone make you feel like you're not enough. If this message hit home, show some love. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. And before you go, drop a comment. I choose myself. Let the world know you are unstoppable.